did you say? Oh. Okay, so this is the last part of the marathon this afternoon. This is a point where we get to talk about next steps and what we've heard. And so the most important and exciting part of the day. But before I do that, I forgot to say thank you, and I'd like to do that right now, as if Mel Kotick is in the room. Otherwise, forget about him. Okay, Mel, come on up here. Mel gave me a gift, and now I'm going to re-gift it. So Mel's the manager for the Oceans program, and he's done a heck of a lot of work to make this happen, supported by some very good staff. And I didn't write down his thank yous because I was trying to make it a surprise, and then I forgot to thank him, so it really was a surprise for me too. So thank you, Mel. Okay, so just to recap, the purpose of the forum, the reason that we came together for these 2 days was to do a number of things. First of all, we wanted to share information, exchange information. We wanted to tell you, what's been going on, why PNCIMA, and to get some feedback about the idea of vision for PNCIMA and input into what a stakeholder engagement process would look like. And I know there's been a bit of a chicken and an egg thing, how can we tell you what you want until we know what you've got kind of thing, and we can't tell you what you got until we know what you want. And so I think that's good. It's okay that we have this dialogue back and forth. In the beginning of any process, I think it's very normal and healthy to really question each other. And so just to explain kind of the process of what's happened. So this morning, Mel kind of talked to you about the governance pieces that we have in place now, and then the pieces that we want to build. And so at the table right now, the people you see before you are the steering committee for PNCIMA. And I think that's probably a good idea if they just introduce themselves, just name and where you are, just so you can see them and hear from them.
Thank you. My name is Arnie Bellis. I'm the Vice President of the Haida Nation. I hail out of Old Masset and the Masset area. Been obviously around the ocean forever, and I still go out and every day on a daily basis to walk and enjoy the ocean. So I'm very excited about this forum, and I think we've had some common ground to take the next step.
Yes, Alex Chartrand. From the community of Wekino Village on the Central Coast. To you may recognize the name as from Rivers Inlet, and I represent 4 Central Coast First Nations, Kitasuk-Cheches, Heiltsuk, Nochalkum, and Wekino. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's really nice to see so many people stuck around, especially on a Friday afternoon. My name is Bruce Watkinson. I'm a member of the Kitkatla First Nation on the North Coast, and I'm the Executive Director of the North Coast Skeena First Nation Stewardship Society, and the communities that form that alliance are the Kitsillas First Nation, Kitsim-Kalem First Nation, Metlakatla First Nation, Kitkatla First Nation, and the Gitgat First Nation.
Hi everybody, my name is Jivan Matu and I'm with Environment Canada, and I'm pleased to see that so many people have come out to embark on this on these first steps to work on PNCIMA.
Great, thank you very much. And just so I know, so I'm Rebecca Reed, also a member of the steering committee, and these fine gentlemen foolishly allowed me to be the chair for the first year on a trial basis to see how it goes. So that's why I'm here. But what we've done over the past hour is sit down and talk about and try and synthesize all the information we've heard over the past 2 days. And so what I'm doing is simply presenting that information And then what's going to happen after that is you'll have an opportunity to pose any questions you like, and we'll do our best to answer them. So during the prep meetings that occurred and during the forum, there's a number of things that we heard that I think we can group into some themes, interests and suggestions. And the first one is that there's a need to be collaborative and inclusive. So we need a transparent stakeholder engagement mechanism that's both efficient and effective. And that efficiency and effectiveness should not means that we shouldn't have a process that lasts forever, that's overly bureaucratic. It needs to be mindful of current issues and other processes. The third thing is it needs to be purposeful, that the oceans be protected for the benefit and enjoyment of future generations, that the health of the oceans is inextricably linked to the sustainability of economic livelihoods for coastal communities and Canadians in general, and that the recommendations that come out of the PNCIMA initiative need to guide decision-making processes. Under decision-making, there was a number of suggestions and comments that need to be fleshed out further. And those suggestions were around the issues of governance, who and how decisions are made, that it be meaningful, that representatives involve the right people, and that they be principle-based. Another theme was around the idea of being forward-looking, that we have to develop a roadmap for a PNCIMA process that lays out the major milestones and associated activities that need to be established to move the process forward, in addition to the products that will be produced as a result of the process. And next is that the idea of it being community-based, and I heard that loud and clear over the past 2 days, that this process needs to be relevant at a local scale, that there's a strong interest that the forum be held in the PNCIMA area, and next year that isn't exactly the intent. That it be technologically driven, that costs of travel and difficulties around travel can be overcome in many cases through techno fixes, and I think that that's a very useful suggestion, and that the discussions occur in a way that can be understood by participants. I heard very strongly the importance of having an ecosystem-based approach, that healthy communities and economies rely on a healthy environment and ecosystem, and that came across very strongly as well. We need to demonstrate respect, First Nations, non-First Nations, stakeholders, citizens, government to government, Aboriginal rights. We need to show respect in everything that we do and recognize the players and people that are at the table. And we need to be committed. The DFO needs to show leadership and be committed to this process. The steering committee needs to be all participants. And so we need to be committed to providing sufficient resources to the initiative to allow it to continue to develop in a reasonable time frame. And consistent with what we heard about the need for capacity funding, I think it's important to state up front that our ability to deliver on this initiative will be linked to our ability to find the funding to support the process. And so I want to say that out loud and recognize that I've heard that. We've heard that as a steering committee, and we agree. Stakeholders and other partners also need to make a commitment to this process. And regarding the question around public-private partnership, around funding, I think what I can say on that now, and further discussions required, is that if we are to make this process a success, we have to be as imaginative as possible, recognizing appropriate authorities. And so we can find ways to marry money to make best use of the resources that we have. It needs to be knowledge-based, that the best available information, including science-based, traditional, local, ecological knowledge, be used in informing recommendations and decisions. And that there are some First Nations that aren't currently engaged in the process, and we need to work on mechanisms for that engagement. And I would say that in some cases, if not all, that work is underway. Now, those are the general themes. If you hear something missing, please write it down, and let's talk about it after this piece of it.